I feel sorry for people like this bloke, David Taggart, 42.
Yeah.
He used air miles and spent £10,000 to travel 11 hours from Phoenix to watch the match at Box Park, Shoreditch.
Wow.
What's the point? Really, honestly. If
And
you're
there
going
he is.
to do all that, why don't you just go to Germany? It'd be better off, wouldn't it? It's not that much further.
He got a free beer shampoo, I would imagine. So, Gareth Southgate will make his decision imminently whether to stay or not. And if he doesn't, Lee Carsley, the under-21 coach, could step up. The FA may look at the process with Gareth. Broadly, the feeling is he did a good job and they might feel that is the way to go. I haven't seen a lot of Lee Carsley's football with the under-21s.
I did watch the
bits
tournament,
and pieces.
last summer.
They played some nice stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Tom
That's where
Barclay.
I first noticed Cole Palmer. He had a very good tournament.
Yeah.
I thought, this boy looks good.
Tom Barclay has been out at the World Cup, a marathon stint. Just before he sets off back, he has watched a lot of 21s before he was with the first team. And he joins us now. Hi, Tom.
Hey, chaps. I'm at Frankfurt Airport waiting to come home.
Oh, that's
Okay.
right. Over a month.
About the only thing that is coming home.
Yeah. He's coming. No, stop that. Not for another 2
my
years.
kids are singing it.
Not for 2 more years. So yeah, you saw a fair bit of under-21 football under Lee Carsley, and we said earlier on that he was a pretty uncompromising defensive midfield player. Maybe people think that's the style of football he plays, but it isn't, Tom, is it?
It's not at all. It's not at all. I think most people remember him as that Everton sort of half-man defensive midfielder alongside Thomas Gravison all those years ago. But his style is much more free-flowing and exciting. And I guess that, in a nutshell, is one of the most attractive aspects of Lee Carsley if he were to be the man they appointed. Given how much criticism Gareth Southgate has got for being too cautious, I'd say Carsley's style of play, albeit obviously at a lower under 21 level last summer, was absolutely superb throughout the whole tournament. They didn't concede a goal, so defensively they were very solid, but the goals they scored and the play they put together were fantastic. I mean, 4 of the 5 goals with the most passes in the tournament were England, so that must be music to the ears of a lot of fans, I would think.
The feeling is that we've got this group of young players, and there is a school of thought that says Gareth Southgate didn't get the best out of them. So he's not
a front foot manager. Yeah. That's the difference. It's been made by a lot of people the
reactive
same point.
Rather than proactive.
Yeah, the fact that these players in their clubs play for teams that press, and we just didn't really do that.
No. But there would be some pushback on Carsley because people, what's he ever done? Blah, blah, blah. But this would seem to make sense as an appointment. The FA could certainly reason this out, couldn't they? Great group of young players, many of which he's worked with and nurtured. It would, after an initial bit of pushback, it could potentially be the right move.
I think so. I think the obvious sort of pushback, as you say, would be the fact that his managerial stints at a senior level amounts to just 3 caretaker roles at Birmingham, Coventry and Brentford, plus the fact that he has 40 Ireland caps might be of issue with some people. And if he were appointed, ironically, his first game would be Ireland away in September. But I think when you focus on the good side of things, first of all, when people talk about the positivity that Gareth Southgate has brought to England, a lot is to do with the culture, getting players to want to play for England again. Carsley's very much from the same school of thought. The players really enjoyed being with the 21s last summer, not just because they won it, but just because of how the whole setup was, and that wasn't always the case. But and the fact that he's a very clever developer of players. I mean, Anthony Gordon last summer was talking about him being at that point the best man manager he'd ever had. So that sort of tells you about his skills at working with young players. But I think it comes back to the fact that the style of play was very, very entertaining last summer, and he's quite creative with the way he solves issues. I mean, last summer they suddenly had no centre forward because Flo Balogun suddenly decided to switch allegiances to the USA, and Ryan Brewster got injured. So he was left with no centre forward. He played Anthony Gordon through the middle, who had never played there before pretty much, and he won player of the tournament. Angel Gomez, who Man United fans might remember as a youngster, creative sort of winger really, was essentially the holding midfielder in front of the defence, and he had a blinding tournament alongside Curtis Jones, who was the best player of that tournament. And there are other examples that I can mention of him thinking outside the box, but it works. And he's a very calm guy. You'd watch him on the touchline, sort of crouched down in his technical area, sort of thinking it through. Ashley Cole would be more of his his sort of vocal presence on the touchline. And Joleon Lescott during that tournament was one of his other assistants who sit up in the stands for the first half and take it all in. But he speaks well. Again, he obviously not got the most high profile like a Frank Lampard, but look at Spain. Luis de la Fuente. I mean, how many people realistically in England even knew who he was before this tournament? He's someone who has come through the ranks, managed the under-19 Spanish team to a title, the 21s, and onto the seniors, and they played unbelievable football. And we can see what a good decision that was. So in a nutshell, really, I think that's an example of why it might be the way to go.
Yeah,
it's a big part of the job. The big part of the job dealing with expectation. I mean, how is he with the press? What was he like with the media last summer? I mean, obviously the team was successful.
Yeah, you're right, Andy. That is a big part. It shouldn't be, but it's a big part of the gig, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. And I mean, to be honest, I don't know whether that's one sort of area that I don't think you can really judge him on. I found him great to work with, and obviously they were really successful. So it's hard to. They didn't have much criticism come their way, but it's the 21s. Even though generally. There are obviously a lot of big name players. You mentioned Andy Cole Palmer. He actually didn't actually start the tournament in the first 11. It was Noni Madueke who got in front of him. By the end of the tournament, he won his place and was superb towards the end of it. And there were lots of other players, Gordon I mentioned, Curtis Jones, lots of big, exciting young characters. But realistically, fans generally only sort of dip in to sort of see how their club prospects is getting on when it comes to the 21s until it gets to the back end of the tournament when everyone's getting excited that they might actually win something. But the scrutiny is nothing like the senior team. So that would be something that he would have to deal with if he was given that opportunity. And I can't really make a call on what he'd be like on that scrutiny until he's actually in the role. But all I can tell is he's a good communicator when given a chance. And I would say that someone like Gareth Southgate, even though obviously he has a much higher profile historically as a player, he's someone that probably people at first wrote off to a certain extent when it came to his messaging and his sort of aura. But over time, no matter what you think about how he's the way his style of play, I think people grew to respect his ability to communicate with the public and definitely with the players. At least that's from my perspective. And I think I'd back Carsley to do a similar job on that front.
I mean, finally, Tom, of the runners and riders in the betting, I'm looking at the Paddy Power betting, and I think we can forget Pochettino and Klopp. We're not going to have an overseas manager. I don't think that will happen. It's Graham Potter and Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe, you've got to get out of Newcastle, but as Andy said, maybe he's seeing the writing on the wall. Another tough season. He could be turning down an England job and losing his job anyway. Or Graham Potter. I mean, I wonder if how the FA would view that. They're two people they don't really know compared, but one that's gone through their system and has worked with a lot of the players. He's going to be expected to coach.
Well, that would obviously be in Carsley's favour. I think both of those managers have got a lot of strings to the bow. They've got that experience at a higher level that stands against Carsley, and Eddie Howe's done a terrific job at Newcastle. I mean, to be honest, whether he'd even want to step away from that is a question mark over that. Graham Potter, since leaving Chelsea, I think, even though it didn't go well there, he's someone that covered a lot of Brighton and sort of know how good a job he did down at the Amex. But I think no one's going to really sort of claim he had the best of times at Chelsea. But as time passes and the sort of car crash that Chelsea's been since then under Todd Bowley, I think it hasn't looked quite as bad, perhaps, although maybe Andy will have a better perspective on that than me.
I think by the end of the season he was looking bad because they've got good young players and he didn't get the best out of them, but that's not really his fault because it was a mess, let's be honest. But
either way, the fact that he keeps getting linked to these jobs and seems to be seemingly turning them down makes you think, is he waiting for something? He's obviously available, he speaks well, he's would fit that kind of profile. I would not be surprised if it was Graham Potter at all, but that doesn't mean that he'll definitely be the man. The other person that we've sort of missed out there, and it was Gary Lineker who mentioned him, was Lampard. And I know it didn't end well the last stint at Chelsea, but he's obviously got a lot of charisma, the way he talks. He's got that persona from his playing days. It kind of counters what I was saying earlier about Carsley's style. But when you think about what the job he did in the beginning at Chelsea during that first stint, I don't think it should be completely overlooked, his sort of tactical nous. Those would be the ones that I would sort of generally think were in the running.
Well, we'll let you get your plane home. Cheers, Tom. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.